The stairwell smelled of dust and despair. Each step echoed in the silence. John hated the flickering fluorescent lights. They cast long, dancing shadows that stretched his fear into monstrous shapes. He hurried, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The rooftop awaited. John hated elevators at the best of times. Claustrophobia, his therapist called it. He called it common sense. Why trust a metal box dangling on a frayed rope? But tonight, with the eclipse looming, the elevator being broken felt like an omen. A bad one. He reached the final landing, chest heaving. A single red light bulb cast an eerie glow over the chipped paint and peeling posters. The air felt thick, heavy, like something was pressing down on him. He pushed open the heavy metal door and stepped onto the rooftop. A chill wind whipped at his face, carrying the distant sounds of the city. The air crackled with an unnatural energy. For a moment, John just stood there, trying to catch his breath, trying to ignore the prickling sensation on the back of his neck that whispered of unseen eyes. The city stretched before him, a tapestry of twinkling lights. A gentle breeze carried the scent of distant rain. On the rooftop, his friends were already gathered, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of fairy lights strung across a makeshift viewing area. Relief washed over him. He wasn't alone. "You made it!" Sarah called out, her smile bright against the darkening sky. She waved him over, her enthusiasm infectious. Mark, ever the pragmatist, was fiddling with a telescope, his brow furrowed in concentration. Emily sat cross-legged, carefully arranging snacks on a picnic blanket. "Sorry I'm late," John managed, his voice raspy. "Elevator's out again." He forced a laugh, trying to shake off the lingering unease. His friends, bless them, didn't seem to notice. They were too caught up in the excitement of the eclipse, their faces turned towards the sky with a mixture of anticipation and awe. For a while, John allowed himself to be swept up in their excitement. He joined them on the blanket, accepting a beer from Mark with a grateful nod. They joked, they laughed, they shared stories. The tension eased, replaced by a comfortable camaraderie. For a few precious hours, the world seemed normal, even beautiful. The sky, a deep indigo blue, was rapidly darkening. Stars, usually shy behind the city's glare, began to prick the canvas of the night. A hush fell over the group. The eclipse was starting. "Don't look directly at it, you guys, you know that, right?" Emily cautioned, her voice a nervous tremor. She passed around a box of eclipse glasses. They looked flimsy, almost comical, but no one argued. The stories about eye damage were too real, too unsettling to ignore. The first bite of the moon's shadow on the sun was almost imperceptible. Then, slowly, surely, the light began to fade. The air grew noticeably cooler. The city below seemed to hold its breath. The anticipation was palpable, a tangible thing that crackled in the air alongside the growing darkness. John slipped on his glasses. Through the filtered lenses, he watched as the moon continued its slow, inexorable journey across the face of the sun. An unnatural twilight settled over the cityscape. The world seemed to shrink, to hold its breath, waiting for the moment of totality. The air grew heavy, charged with a strange energy. John felt a shiver crawl down his spine despite the warmth of the summer night. The laughter died down. Conversations dwindled to whispers. Even the city below seemed to quiet, the usual cacophony of sound replaced by a low, expectant hum. The temperature continued to drop, the air growing colder with each passing moment. John pulled his jacket tighter around himself, a sense of unease settling in his stomach. Something wasn't right. He glanced at his friends, but they were all staring at the eclipse, their faces pale and awestruck in the eerie light. As the last sliver of sun disappeared, swallowed by the moon's shadow, a collective gasp rippled through the rooftop. The world plunged into an unnatural twilight. Stars blazed in the suddenly black sky, and then, a silence so profound, so absolute, that it felt like a physical presence descended upon them. John felt a tremor run through the rooftop, a subtle vibration that seemed to resonate deep within his bones. He tore his gaze from the eclipsed sun, his eyes darting around the rooftop, searching for the source of the tremor. His breath hitched in his throat. Something was different. The air itself seemed to shimmer and distort as if reality itself was coming unstitched. A crack, like thunder, but without sound. A jagged fissure snaked across the fabric of the sky, splitting the darkness with an unnatural light that pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly glow. John watched, his breath caught in his throat, as the crack widened, becoming a gaping wound in the sky. It pulsed, breathed, a monstrous eye staring down at the insignificant world below. What? What is that? Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Her eyes wide with fear, darted from the crack in the sky to the eclipse glasses clutched in her hand as if seeking an explanation, a reassurance that wasn't there. John didn't answer. He couldn't. Words failed him, trapped in his throat by a terror so primal, so profound, that it threatened to overwhelm him. He could only watch, paralyzed as the impossible unfolded before his eyes. The air crackled with a strange energy, a palpable tension that thrummed against his skin like a physical force. From the heart of the abyss, a shape began to emerge, slowly, tentatively, as if testing the air of this new world. It was amorphous, ever-shifting, a writhing mass of shadows and light. The creature unfolded from the rift, a grotesque parody of life. It was all angles and shadows, its form constantly shifting, defying definition. Tentacles of pure darkness lashed out, tasting the air, searching. John felt bile rise in his throat, a primal scream building in his chest. The thing that emerged was beyond comprehension, beyond nightmare. It was a creature of pure darkness, a being of the void, and it dripped with an alien hunger that chilled him to the bone. Its form writhed and pulsed, a grotesque mockery of life, its surface a shifting tapestry of shadows and light that defied description. A high-pitched whine, like fingernails scraping down a chalkboard, pierced the silence, sending another wave of goosebumps erupting across John's skin. Sarah whimpered, burying her face in Mark's shoulder. Mark, to his credit, remained outwardly calm, but John could see the fear in his eyes. The way his grip on Sarah's arm tightened. The creature paused, its attention drawn to the huddled group on the rooftop. John could feel its gaze, cold and calculating, like the stare of a predator sizing up its prey. He knew, with a certainty that bypassed logic, that they were about to die.